We look at it kind of simple, like you did too. If you hit the ball in the net, how do you lose to a 3-foot midget that's 42 feet wide and doesn't move? The second way, if you hit the ball in the net, who has to pick it up? You do. If you hit the ball out, who has to pick it up? They do. You want to pick up balls and play tennis. So if you kick the ball out of the net, you don't have to pick up a whole lot of balls.
And that appeals to the teenage mind very well. Yep. We talk about that a lot, is if you serve and your serve goes in the net, now you got to do the walk of shame before your second serve. What's that going to do to your confidence? Do you feel tremendously confident after you've done the walk of shield? You have to go pick up that ball. And then, you present that to a teenager and you say, hey, if you hit it long, they have to pick it up. They go, Coach, you're a genius. Yeah. Wow. Wait, I can get out of work. I can make them work harder and I will work less if I hit the ball long. Yes. When was the last time you saw your ball go in the net and your opponent called it good? Right? I mean, never. It never, ever happens, right? But how many times have you seen your ball, an inch or 3 inches or 2 feet out, and the opponent calls it good? Let's talk a little bit about how to avoid hitting in the net.
One of the things we've always used is either, like Joe Denifer has the air zone, which is a little rope that you can string above the net. And as soon as you put it there, it's amazing. Players start actually hitting topspin because they realize they have to hit up over the rope instead of through the net. The problem with tennis is you can see through the net. You actually forget that it's actually a wall there. And until you hit the wall, then you forget you had to go pick up the ball. But, air zone was a good one. The other we used the tennis target trainer, which is something I did about in the 1970s. But it gives them it's painted yellow in the top half. That helps them to visualize the space above the net to play through, as opposed to playing through the net. Because when you play tennis from the baseline, you have to look through the net to see the court, and you forget that's an obstacle.
Some pros have more storage space than others, and I have almost none at my club. So I don't have a lot of space for a lot of extra tools. So the way I accomplish that is I have my player at the baseline and I stand at the net and I ask them, what's the average height off the ground of a top player? And it varies between 5 feet and 6 feet, right? So Nadal's balls on average go closer to 6 feet off the ground, almost 3 feet off the net, right? And then, and then Djokovic's ball's a little bit lower, and Federer's ball's a little bit lower than that, and Murray's ball's a little bit lower than that. So, but they're all within this range on average, and that means half of them go over that.
Right.
That's and half go under. So half of them go above this. So I take a racket and I put it here. I'll use a fork instead for a second. I take a racket and I put it on my head. And I go, hit over this. But then what that does is kind of forces them to use their imagination a little bit more, because they have to visualize that height over the net. So I think we can get creative. I've done that where I've strung a rope across the courts from fence to fence, and it's a lot of fun. But sometimes you just can't do that. Should we dig a little bit deeper in how not to hit into the net?
If you use part of it, what we do, our brain is pretty perceptive. If you say hit the ball, they hit flat. If you say toss the ball or lift the ball over the net, immediately they get the idea of, oh, it needs to go in an upward arc. But a lot of it goes back to how we as coaches communicate what we're trying to do. In my mind, I had a perfect idea of what I wanted to do when I said hit the ball. But when you take even a beginner and you say toss the ball over the net, they'll do topspin right away. And they'll actually do height above the net right away, because the tossing motion is an upward motion. Hitting motion is more of a forward motion.
I think another thing too, and this is definitely something I've picked up from you, is the language that you use and the object that you insert in the people's brains is what they're going to fascinate on. Right. So after I tell them I don't want balls in the net, then what we get into is, well, where's your target? Your target's over there, right? And the first barrier towards getting the ball to your target is to get it up and over. right? It's the first job. So it's interesting, and I can relate to this as when I was not such a great player, is if I had netted a few balls, then the net started to look 6 feet tall.
It does.
And so I've started to fixate on the net, like, okay, I have to get the ball over the net, and I'm looking at the net, and so what you look at, that's where you're going to hit. And I think it was you who taught me to look at where you want to hit to. So if you're looking at the corner of the service box, then the net becomes this blurry thing in between where you're looking that you want to hit. So establishing deep targets in the court and hitting to those alleviates a lot of the netted balls because the attention is on something else.
The other key, Bill, is when you say don't hit the ball in the net, it's like saying don't think of a pink elephant. You have to. If you say, look, just aim higher, forget the don't. The don't part makes them have to visualize, like, don't hit the ball in the net, man. Why do you keep hitting that? You said, well, you said don't. So I had to see myself doing it first to not do it. So it goes back to a little bit to our vocabulary again as coaches, how we coach either from the positive or from the negative side.
Right. And so, and just to piggyback on that, my thing is hit the ball to the side tee in doubles, right? And if you focus on the side tee and you hit it to the side tee, do you see how the net man will have absolutely no chance of getting that ball? I mean, maybe a Bryan brother could get it. Maybe one of the very top, players in the world could get that ball that's going to. All right. Anything more about how to teach people to clear the barrier?
Most of us have to teach visually because that's how we learn, rather than auditorily. So choice of words is important because your job really is to paint a picture in their mind. But the words you use will describe how you paint the picture. And then the more physical targets or visual things that they can use really helps them with that part. The other part we do a lot in the drills is if the ball goes in net, all the players on the court have to sprint to the net, touch the net. The guy who hit it over, you hit it and then has to pick it up, throw it over, and then run back. Within a few minutes, there are no more balls in the net because the other group now manages for me. I'm never the bad guy. The other players will say, look, Bill, keep the ball in the net. I'm tired of running.
So I know you know this school, Mission San Jose, where I was the coach, and we won. The boys and the girls each won North Coast section, right after each other. But this was a big part of our serving training was, we've got a basketball baskets, and every third ball that went in the net on serve practice, then everybody dropped into 10 push-ups. Now I said, now, kids, I've been told not to punish you with exercise. So it's not a punishment. I'm not trying to hurt you. We were going to do push-ups anyway. So, but for every 3 that the team hits in the net, everyone's going to stop and do 10. And then that will be subtracted from the push-ups we were going to do later. So it's a reward. You just get to get them out of the way sooner, right? Which, of course, they still dread that. That same positive peer pressure comes into play because when the same kid is hitting 2 of the 3 in the net, then you better believe that there's considerable amount of pressure. And then I love the effort that they make. They start, really going out of their way to sky that ball a little bit more. And people might discourage that, but I encourage it because like I said before, that made me want to vomit. Here's the kicker, though. This is when the reward comes. We've been doing this for a little while. They're really improving at it. We go and play a match, and at the end of the match, I'm like, hey, guys, did you see how many balls they hit in the net? Right? Wasn't that fun to watch them hit in the net and us not quite as much? Did you enjoy watching them make the walk of shame before they were going to hit their second serve? And then helping them to see the errors of their opponent who